Hey, does this sound familiar? You sit down with every intention to study or work or plan, and before you know it, you're deep into TikTok or hours down the Reddit rabbit hole. Your to-do list is gathering dust and your stress levels are just skyrocketing. And if you have ADHD like me, or you struggle with executive functioning, planning and getting things done can feel like an impossible task. But it doesn't have to be. I'm Scott with Life Sketch, and I'm a life and career coach specializing in ADHD and executive functioning challenges. Today, I'm going to teach you a simple yet powerful protocol that I coach my clients through to help them plan better and actually get things done. And not only have I used this with hundreds of clients, I also use this myself on a daily and weekly level. We're going to walk through the ADHD planning and productivity protocol. And by the end of it, you're going to have a clear system to break down every overwhelming task, get on top of your life in a way that works for you. The first step in this planning protocol is understanding what we call your life roles. These are the major parts of your life that make up who you are. Think of them as hats you wear throughout the day: a student, an employee, a friend, a family member, a health enthusiast, whatever these roles that you play. For example, my life roles that I listed out are home. I'm a husband and father. I'm a friend, a family member, a community member, where I'm a service provider, a counselor, or coach. I'm an entrepreneur. There's my aspect of leisure, where my outside of work time, and this is hobbies and just the greater interest in areas. So take a minute to start this process and jot down your most important life roles. You don't need to list everything. Just try to get 5 to 10 of the most key or salient areas of who you are. And then once you've had these life roles identified, it's time to get clear on your purpose for each. At home, as a husband and father, my purpose is to create a loving and supportive home environment where my family can thrive and grow together. At work, my purpose as a counselor and coach is to help clients achieve their goals, provide guidance and support, and contribute to the field of counseling and coaching. As a steward, I commit to protecting and preserving the environment. I manage my finances and take care of my stuff. Each of these statements grounds me in the why of what I do, why I do it. It also keeps me focused and helps me make decisions on how to spend my time, my attention, and my energy. So when you're thinking about your own roles, ask yourself, why is this important? What's the purpose? What do I want out of it? Write down a short statement for each role. It doesn't have to be perfect, just something that reminds you of why it matters. And now that we have your life roles and purpose statements, it's time to set some goals. But we're not just thinking about today or tomorrow yet. We're thinking long-term and short-term. Now, I break this down into several key horizons. Think about the long range as this 5 to 10 year goal. Then you might want to zoom in and say, okay, this year. You could even break it down into quarterly or seasonal goals as well. Let's use a academic role for, let's say, a cliche college student. The 5-year goal might be graduating with a degree. The 1-year goal might be finishing this academic year strong. The quarterly or semester goal might be acing your midterms. And you could even break that down into the weekly goal, which we'll do here in a moment. So first, take a few minutes to brainstorm 1 to 3 goals for each time horizon. And don't worry if they're not fancy or perfectly articulated yet, or if they're not written in as a SMART goal. Just put anything down, really thinking about what you want to have or what you want to achieve. And now that we've been working on the big picture, where you've identified your life roles and you're starting to set some goals, it's time to zoom in and focus on this weekly and daily level. The next step, this is where we're going to get a little messy, but in a good way. It's essentially starting with what's called a brain dump. The idea is to get everything out of your head onto a piece of paper or your phone, wherever it is you keep and manage thoughts. So you're going to write down your tasks, what you're worried about, to-dos, anything that's floating around in your mind. You want to get it all out of your brain and into this dump. So for each task you write down, then I want you to think about 2 things. 1, what is the ideal outcome that you are trying to achieve? And 2, What is the smallest possible next action that you can take? We're talking about tiny steps. Instead of write my research paper, it's open a Word document and title it. Say your task is to schedule a doctor's appointment. The ideal outcome is having that appointment on the books. The next action, don't just write call the doctor. Instead, break it down into, search the doctor's office to get their phone number. See how much easier, more tangible, and achievable that is? So go ahead and do a brain dump for any of your life roles or just at the start of the week. Write down your task, your ideal outcomes, and next actions for each of these things. You can see my actual brain dump that I just did a couple days ago as to what was going on in my mind, and then how you could then clarify each outcome and step. And now that you've gotten all your tasks and next actions written out, it's time to organize these by your life roles. This helps you see what tasks belong to which areas of your life, making it easier to manage them. For example, tasks like study for final and meet with professor would go under the academic role. Go to the gym and meal prep might be under the physical body role. Think of each role as a folder that houses your to-do lists, your projects that you're working on, and even reference material or aspirational ideas. So now take a minute to sort your brain dump into different folders based on your life role. Now it's time to address scheduling and using your calendar. We're going to use a method called time blocking, where you assign chunks of time to specific life roles and tasks. This helps you stay focused and ensures everything gets in on a place. You're first going to start by blocking out your non-negotiables. These are things like classes, work shifts, or appointments. I have to walk my children to school usually every day around 7:30. So I know that is just in my schedule all the way through it because it can't get moved. Then you're going to start to place your big rocks, what are considered your important priorities, like studying or exercising, or if there's a really important project that you're working on. You want to start to map that onto the calendar as well. And so if you're studying for finals, you're going to block out specific times for studying sessions. Be specific once you're inside of that. So this might be, I'm studying for this class from 2 to 3 at that library. For my personal one that you can see here, I have appointments that are housed kind of midweek, and so I know when those are going to be. So I labeled mine green, and green is sort of my work color. So I have appointments as my main. These are non-negotiables. They're pre-scheduled, and then I have my deep work session. So this is I'll talk about deep work a little bit more. This is essentially a non-distracted, very intentional work time that I have for myself. You can see where I go to the gym. You can see when I'm home or cooking. You can see my kiddos' soccer practice that are in there. And then I have a weekly ritual in our family where we practice the idea of Shabbat, where essentially Friday night through Saturday we have nothing on our radar. So no work, no emails, limited amount of tasks or even getting things done. This is really focused on rest and recovery and connection. And that is a weekly thing that we have on our calendar too. And so step 7, this is where we're actually now getting the things done that we're wanting to. Right? This is our areas of productivity, of following through and getting started. So during your time blocks, you're going to focus on those small next actions that you just wrote down earlier. Just work on the smallest step. That's it. Once you're finished, move on to the next thing. And it's not about being perfect. It's about making small, consistent progress. Remember, every tiny action adds up. Finally, to stay on top of things, we need to review what's working and what's not. At the end of each day and at the end of each week, ask yourself, what did I accomplish? Right? What did I get done? What didn't I? Why and why not? And what can I adjust? Right? So if I said, hey, I was going to go do this thing, right? I was going to submit my taxes, and then I didn't. The question is, again, why didn't I? Because if we open that question with that of curiosity and openness. We can say, hey, maybe I didn't have all of the things yet, and I'm still waiting on these 2 forms to come in. Maybe it just made me super anxious, and I just procrastinated and avoided the whole situation because I'm afraid of what the return status is going to be. Right? So if we identify the resistance and the challenges that we're facing when we're refining our next week or next day's list, we're going to have that in mind and adjust accordingly. And so this is going to help you refine your system and stay focused on your goals. So as we wrap up this journey through the ADHD productivity and planning protocol, I want to leave you with some best practices to actually ensure that this is successful and works for you. And first and foremost, don't overstuff your calendar. Only include tasks that you're certain to accomplish. Keep it realistic and trust your schedule by avoiding the temptation to overload. It's really difficult to understand your limits, especially the ADHD mind often overestimates how much work we can get done in a given day or period, or sometimes just how little amount of time it actually needed to get something. So we want to try to adjust that and be realistic as possible. That's where the reflecting and refining part helps too. And so just be honest with yourself about what you can achieve. And then everything needs a time and place. For every task on your calendar, every event on your calendar has to have a specific time and location. For instance, if it says study from 2 to 2:50, the location should be in the library. This clarity helps you set up for success. And consistency is key. Aim to do this planning process weekly with daily reviews to keep you on task. What we're wanting to do is to try to create a habit out of this, where regular check-ins only help to reinforce your commitments. And then understand your distractions, where you want to identify your unique distractions so that you can tailor strategies that are going to help prevent or block them effectively. Whether it's your phone or social media or even certain people, you want to create this personalized plan. I personally use a site an app called Freedom. And essentially during these deep work sessions that I mentioned, I will actually say, for the next 4 hours, I'm going to shut down most of the internet. So I can't check the news, I can't check the weather, there's no access to explicit content. It's essentially saying most of it is out there because I'm only focusing on this one task, this one project during this one chunk of time. So to recap, we've identified your life roles, you created purpose statements, you set long-term and short-range goals. Then you started to do that on a weekly and daily level, where you scanned everything, you thought about all your to-dos, you brain dumped, and then you start to organize those into these different life role categories. And then you mapped all of that onto your calendar. So you use these big chunks of time that are around your different life roles. And then inside of those, that's when you use your to-dos or your projects to stay productive. And basically breaking down those tasks into smaller, manageable steps, being consistent with your reflection reviews. So if you found this helpful, be sure you can actually download a free guide. I can email it to you, where if you actually wanted basically a map of this protocol and process, that's a free resource for you. If you found this useful or helpful, feel free to subscribe for more tips on planning and productivity. And if you have questions or clarifications needed, or if you have successes and this has worked for you, feel free to comment below and we could start a further conversation. All right, folks, thanks for your mind. Thanks for your eyeballs. I'll catch you next time.